Welcome back in, Detroit Lions fans. Detroit done through and through. Steve, as you can tell, man, I'm feeling a little under the weather. I've been a little sick the last few days, just trying to get through this nasty little cold. Real quick before I get into today's topic, something's been on my mind lately with this hurricane that's coming through Florida. I remember last week when I did a live show, one of our members, Javion Parker, I think it was you that had mentioned that I think you're living in Tennessee and this hurricane had wiped out a lot of your personal belongings and stuff. I think you just said pretty much the impacts from the storm affected you. And I really just hope that whoever's following this channel, whoever's been watching this channel for a while, if you're in Florida or in that area where this hurricane's coming through, I hope that you guys are safe. I hope that you're in a safe location and you're either evacuated or you're able to hunker down throughout this storm and get through it, because this is a nasty one. My thoughts and prayers from my family to yours. I really, truly hope that everyone's okay coming with this storm, because it looks nasty, and I don't follow the news, but this one I feel like is going to be bad, and I hope that everyone is okay. So if you're following this channel, please check in, just give a thumbs up, just let everyone know that you're good. If you guys are familiar with Robert Saleh, he was fired from the New York Jets today. And I say that, and you guys are probably wondering, Steve, what the hell does that have to do with the Detroit Lions? Well, I'm going to paint a picture. I try to take your minds and to broaden some horizons and to get the creative juices flowing on some episodes. That's what this is kind of geared towards today. So Robert Saleh fired from the New York Jets. Let's take a little trip down memory lane. When we were in the process of looking for a head coach, the two names that were really popping up were, one of them was Robert Saleh from the San Francisco 49ers, who we'll get to that in a minute. But Robert Saleh's name was all over, and I was on board with it too, man. This is a guy with some hometown connections. He's from Dearborn, the state of Michigan. Like, there's some ties here. A lot of people were saying, like, this could be the Harbaugh effect for the Detroit Lions, bring Robert Saleh home. Let's get him to Detroit. And I was all for it. Hey, he took the path of the New York Jets, and I can understand at the time where the Lions were, it made sense for Rob to go to New York. No hard feelings. I understand it's New York. That's the spotlight. All the media is there. There's a lot of pressure, but there could be a lot of reward. I thought he was a good fit for them. Obviously didn't work out, and it worked out for the Lions too. So, we got the benefit of Rob going to the Jets. We got Dane Campbell, who's turned this organization around. I am not talking about Bobby taking over for Dan Campbell anytime soon. That's not the path I'm trying to lead you guys here. Let me just paint a picture, okay? Our current defensive coordinator, by the name of Aaron Glenn, I think has been the biggest factor for the Lions' success so far this season. Season's still young. I understand, long way to go. But where we are right now, 3-1, coming off a bye week, getting ready for the Cowboys, the defense has played very well. Very, very well. Aaron Glenn's name's already been mentioned as some interviews for some head coaching vacancies for some other teams. I think he interviewed with the Carolina Panthers, the Colts. I can't think of some of the other teams. He was rumored to, maybe Washington, if I'm not mistaken. But Aaron Glenn's name's out there already. I think it's going to be even more out there next year. All right. So I'm just trying to paint this picture where I like to see, if you're an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator, your job is to be recognized by another franchise for doing a phenomenal job with what you're currently doing. I think Aaron Glenn checks that box. When firing comes around, usually after the season, and they call it Black Monday, everyone comes in and, 3, 4, 5 head coaches get fired. They're going to be looking to replace some people. Who do you want to replace them with? You want to replace them with people who's checking that box of doing really well in their designated area, either offensively or defensively. You want to put their name on a list and bring them in for an interview. Aaron Glenn's already on lists. He's already being watched. I think when Black Monday comes around in January and teams are getting rid of head coaches and they're looking on who can replace them, Aaron Glenn's going to be a hot commodity. I think he's going to be another hot topic, even more so than he has been in the past. So if this defense for the Lions keeps playing well today and Aaron Glenn moves on his own accord, I'm not talking about firing him or anything like that, but I can see a path where Aaron Glenn is no longer with the Detroit Lions next year. And I'm on record saying that scares me more than losing Ben Johnson. So I'm not trying to put this into the universe as something that I want to happen. It's just the way the NFL works. You do well, you move up, you get promoted. You're going to get promoted to another team. You want to be a head coach. You're probably not going to be a head coach of the Detroit Lions with how Dan's running things. So you're probably looking at moving on to another organization, and that's fine. That's how the business works. Well, if it pans out that way, we're going to be in need of another defensive coordinator. My very first, I'm telling you, as soon as Aaron Glenn signs a contract to another team, my very first phone call is Rob Saleh. I can't get on the phone fast enough. What this dude was doing in San Francisco with that defense, and I see a lot of similarities with the Detroit Lions defense. And I'm also on record saying that I wanted to kind of follow the blueprint for how the San Francisco 49ers have been so successful for the last 5 or 6 years. They've drafted really well. They've developed talent really well. They've signed good free agents. They maintained their core that they've drafted to keep it together. I could see a lot of similarities for what the Detroit Lions do. That San Francisco 49ers defense under Saleh was top 10 year in, year out. Not like every year you could just count on the San Francisco 49ers having a top defense. And I look at the Lions roster and I see a lot of similarities. 49ers at that time had a young guy by the name of Nick Bosa. Come to Detroit, we got a young guy by the name of Aiden Hutchinson. San Francisco had a young guy by the name of Fred Warner. We have a young guy by the name of Jack Campbell. There's similarities with how this team is built. Playmakers at every level. Brian Branch on the defensive back. We got a young secondary. Who better to come in and say, hey, Rob, let's rebuild your resume. Let's get your name back out there in a couple years. Let's get you in Detroit, where you have hometown ties. All of his family is still here in the Dearborn area. He speaks of Detroit very highly. I think that this is a realistic chance of happening, but it all's going to depend on how well Aaron Glenn does the rest of the year. I think that's going to be the main factor. I think Saleh takes the rest of this 2024 season off. He'll weigh his options, and I'll get to that in a second. This plan doesn't work if Aaron Glenn struggles, and I don't think he's going to. Aaron Glenn has done very, very well with injuries and being banged up. Look at the last year's team. This year, we're more healthy. Defense is playing better. We're very young. This only works if Aaron Glenn is successful, and I understand that. But I have faith that it will. I have faith that Aaron Glenn continues to coach very well at a very high level, and I think teams will be calling as soon as they have a head coaching position open, and I think he'd be an excellent candidate for some teams. I don't want to see our coordinators go to other teams and fail, but I also don't want them to have too much success because we're Lions fans. We got to keep that into effect too. But Bob Saleh, man, I'd love to have you in Detroit, but I don't want to wish ill on anyone. I don't want to see Aaron Glenn fail or get fired. I want to see him move on his own accord. I would say Saleh or Mike Vrabel would be the two phone calls that need to probably happen if my plan goes according to how I think the rest of this season is going to pan out. And that's all contingent on Aaron Glenn. Those would be the two guys I'm calling right off the rip. In order, Saleh, Mike Vrabel. Hey, I need someone to come take over and coach my defense. What's it going to take to get you here? What do I need to make happen? And again, I'm not sure what other teams, and I've mentioned this Black Monday and head coaches getting fired. I'm not sure if a lot of people are willing to. It's hard for a coach to get fired and get another head coaching job. Sometimes they have to go back and be a defensive coordinator, an offensive coordinator. I think of what Brian Flores is doing right now with the Minnesota Vikings. He was the head coach for the Dolphins, didn't work out, got fired. Look what he's doing with the Vikings now. They're playing at a very high level, especially defensively. I could see Saleh kind of doing that same route where maybe he has to come to Detroit or another team, but hopefully Detroit, rebuild his resume, get his name back out there, dominate on defense, and maybe another head coaching job comes down the line in 2, 3, maybe 4 years. I just kind of see that as what's going on. And real quick, I don't even understand why the Jets fired Saleh. All right. I'm not trying to turn this into an Aaron Rodgers show, but I think Aaron Rodgers is the problem with the Jets. All right. I just don't see how their defense is playing still very, very well. And they're struggling so much on offensively with one of the best quarterbacks of all time, who only won 1 Super Bowl with the Packers in 20-some years he's been in the league. But I don't know. I don't think anything that happened in New York was Bob's fault. I think this was an Aaron Rodgers problem, and someone had to be the fall guy, and it just happened to be Saleh. So if this plan all works out, guys, this is kind of what I would want to happen. This is kind of having to take information and process it fast and hope that maybe that happens. And again, nothing really can happen with Aaron Glenn here. And we want to see him do good. We want to see him be successful. We want to see him move on his own, not get fired, do well, dominate on defense, get you a job somewhere in the NFL being a head coach, and then we'll have a position open. That first phone call is going to Bob. Let me know what you guys think. Stick around, hit that like button, leave some comments down below, guys, and I'll be back later with another show. Thank you for watching.